Welcome to Zoo Nation, where we talk about history as it unfolds and talk about the political zoo of a nation that we're living in. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
Really excited to come back to you guys. It's been a while since we've gotten together. This is a new studio, new area, and so we're really looking forward to talking to you because a lot has happened. Especially, we want to talk to you guys about the Trump assassination attempt and Trump's choice of J.D. Vance, Kamala Harris becoming the official Democrat nominee, her choice of Tim Walz to be her VP. We want to talk to you guys about the debates. We want to talk to you guys about the election, some of our predictions about that. Also want to talk to you about some of MAGA's strategies, especially concerning RFK Jr. and Kyle Rittenhouse, the reaction to some statements that have been made by Joe Rogan and Kyle Rittenhouse about Donald Trump and RFK Jr. So really looking forward to getting into this with you. Please, just want to really quickly remind you guys to follow us on Instagram. That's the best place to catch some of our highlights. It's zoo_nation_. You can find Nathan on Instagram, CelticsFan33, and I am Fog and Whirlwind. But most importantly, follow this account, zoo_nation_. We also have a Facebook page. And if you haven't already, if you're listening to this for the first time, seeing us for the first time, please like and subscribe. It really helps us in the algorithm. Okay, let's jump into the show. I want to talk to you guys about the Trump assassination attempt. And we know this happened a while ago, but you haven't heard our thoughts, right? We want to now talk to you about what we think. And so for me, I literally was working around the house and a friend of mine texted me and said, "Hey, are you seeing this?" And there was a picture from Fox News, and it said Trump rushed off stage by Secret Service. I said, "What happened?" And he said, "He's bleeding from his ear. He was rushed off stage." And then when I went onto Twitter and looked around for some different videos, I saw a video of Trump still speaking when the shots rang out. Patrick Bet-David tweeted out that video. Then Charlie Kirk put out another video whenever Trump got to his feet and Secret Service is about to push him off the stage. And he said, wait, and shook his fist and he said, fight. And then Secret Service moved him off the stage. So before I talk about what I think, I wanted to turn to Nathan here and ask him when this first happened, what was going through your head? What do you think we as conservatives, we as Americans should be thinking about this event?
No, I mean, so my first thoughts is I heard it as I was on the way back from vacation from Florida at the time. And, my first thoughts were, is Trump okay, for one, also, but once everything, kind of, I guess, quote unquote, settled down as far as we knew it was okay and everything, this isn't okay at all. For the people that are like, man, shooter shouldn't have missed. Why? Like, I don't hate any political opposition so much that I want them dead. I don't want them in office. Sure. In fact, I don't hate them. I hate their policies because I, disagree with them on biblical levels and just on levels of my own, so I disagree with them for many reasons, but I don't disagree with them so much that I hate them, and I don't disagree with them so much that I want them dead. So the people that, immediately go to Twitter or, Facebook or just any social media and like, man, don't miss next time. Jack Black, he didn't say that, but the one guy from Tenacious D did. So it's, which they apologize for, but part of me is like, I'm one to accept apologies, but it's like, was that just because, the venue then said, yeah, no more?
Bingo.
Yeah. Or was it, you actually generally are apologetic at that point?
And I agree with you real quick. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I really think it's that. I don't think it's genuine, sincere sorrow because the backlash was so massive, even from some Democrats. It wasn't that many, but it was mainly normies and people that are having to be conservative, that are fans of their music, got so angry to the point they realized, okay, that was an inappropriate joke. And so, no, I don't think they apologized because it was the right thing to do. I think they apologized because they realized if we don't, we're going to lose ticket sales and we may get kicked out of venues. We may get booed if we do show up or if we just show up randomly somewhere else not doing music. So I think that's why they apologized. And again, like you say, we should, and I want to be charitable, accept the apology, but look at it for what it is. They did it because they felt like they had to. So to continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, no, 100%. The only, I guess, saving grace, I guess, quote unquote, especially for the Jack Black scenario was the fact that it wasn't him that said it. It was one of his, I guess, band members or whatever. And they were doing, a little birthday Make-A-Wish type, hey, make a wish. And that was his wish or whatever. So I guess, I could grant it possibly caught Jack Black off guard. So I can kind of, accept it. I guess I can accept his apology potentially a little bit more than the original band member that actually made the comment. That's not okay. In any situation, any attempted assassination of any president or any, congressional member, anything of the sort, that's not okay. To be celebrating or wanting them dead. That's how you lose nations. That is, that's a downfall potential. So yeah, those were kind of my initial concerns, and also I guess my initial thoughts of just what happened were something's not right here. Also, my watching it just myself, and I don't know anything about Secret Service. I don't know anything about any of the stuff on protocols or anything of the sort. So I'll be the first to say I don't know how this stuff works, but it was weird that he stood up, and did cool photo. He got a great photo. That's awesome, right? But if you go back and you watch other attempts of other presidents and stuff, which they're out there and stuff, the Secret Service, they blanket the president and everything, and they get him out of there. There's no, you don't see him. There, if you end up getting another attempt, it's going to be a Secret Service member. There were multiple times where they had him. Essentially, if they wouldn't have neutralized the threat, then they would have potentially been another shot. So, yeah, I that was a big thing that kind of set it off for me. Was like that's weird. That something's not right. What's going on? So those were kind of just my original thoughts.
Right, and I will say since then, and this is not just Josh and Nathan saying this. Dan Bongino and Jack Posobiec, both who have a background in this kind of thing. So Dan Bongino, Secret Service, Jack Posobiec, military intelligence. Both said, this doesn't add up.
Yep.
What in the world? Why did they not get him out of there right away? How in the world did this person get this close to make these shots? And generally, there's just a failing to secure the area where the POTUS or former POTUS is speaking. And what's funny is immediately these people started saying, you need to resign, Miss Head of the Secret Service.
Yeah.
She ended up doing it. She ended up resigning. And that's deserved. And she also has had to testify in front of different congressional members. There's plenty of footage of that. And, the big thing, though, with all this is, will anything come of this? Who will get fired besides her? Will she be prosecuted? And I think ultimately, this is a prediction, and it might be wrong, is that hardly anything's going to come from this. Oh, yeah. She may get a slap on the wrist. It may follow her for the rest of her career, possibly. But I have a feeling she's going to be treated with kid gloves.
Yeah.
Because to me, the fact that this person was even able to climb on the top of a building, because one person, I was talking to a fellow conservative about this and said, well, it's possible that this building over here was a private building and they couldn't get Secret Service agents onto it or in it.
Yeah.
Okay, what was done in anticipation? What was done to prevent this? What was done, for example, could a Secret Service member say, you know what, we are not clear to block this line of fire should someone get on this building, so you're going to have the event somewhere else.
Yeah.
There was no preparation. There was no discussion. It was, we'll just proceed with the event anyway. We have a big question mark sitting over here, or if someone was climbing up on the building, they may not have a great shot, but they would have a shot.
Yep.
I mean, literally, this grazed this guy's ear. I mean, if he had not turned his head, it would have gone through his brain. So, and the funny thing about it is, one thing that was a really weird, there's a really strange, I didn't even think about this in the prep, faction of the right or just the conservatives or the Republican Party, the same people that think that there are clones of Biden and body doubles of Trump, and that there are aliens somewhere out there, not criminal aliens invading our country, but extraterrestrials just around the corner. My neighbor's extraterrestrial. There's a strange faction of these people who think, well, this whole thing was set up. Trump gave a signal to the sniper. He turned his head at the right moment because he had a cue.
You know how almost impossible that is.
Well, literally, it's like, because I've heard this theory, and my response immediately is, okay, but would they have gotten so close they grazed his ear?
Yeah.
Why would Trump consent to that?
If it was just shot at, maybe, but the fact that you grazed his ear, that's a failed setup.
Yes.
You know, for like if it was Trump setting this up.
Yes.
You know, that's a failed setup.
That's way too close.
Yeah, it's like you weren't supposed to get that close.
No,
you know,
no. So there's no way that happened.
No.
This is one thing I want to say. This is a once in a generation thing for you and I. Once in a generation of event for you and I. And I was thinking about this. The three craziest things that I can think of would be, number one, 9/11. I can barely remember it. I remember the planes going into the building, seeing it on TV when I was really young on my dad's lap or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then the second has to be COVID. COVID was wild. The response to COVID was just wild. And third, I would say, was probably January 6th. That was pretty out there. But now, moving into number 3 is this attempt on Donald Trump's life. And so J6 slides into number 4. Because, wow, here you have a former president being shot at and his ears grazed. He's having to wear an ear bandage. Now, let's go into something real quickly, because we didn't even discuss this. What did you think of the Home Depot cashier? I assume that you saw that. For those of you not familiar, Home Depot cashier, and I'm not going to read the post verbatim, basically posts a similar joke. Man, it would have been nice if this guy hadn't missed. Yeah. Because this is the evil guy leading. That's
essentially encouraging
and
another one
promulgating political violence.
Right.
Well, what happened was a gentleman with a Midwestern accent then walked into her place of work, which was Home Depot. She was a cashier there, and said, "Hey, is your name?" And he said her name. She said, "Yes." And then he read the post and said, "Did you say?" And then read the post, and she said, kind of uncomfortably, "I'm at work." Well, the big thing that propelled us into fame was Brandon Tatum, who is a black conservative influencer, posted the video, and it got something like 2 million views.
Yep.
And then Home Depot commented on the video, said, "Brandon, we are here to inform you that this individual no longer works with for Home Depot. She does not align with our values. We do not encourage this."
Yes.
So I wanted to hear your thoughts on this, because it was interesting, because the responses were very different. You had one faction say, well, she messed around, she found out.
Yeah.
The other side said, well, I thought we were against cancel culture.
Yeah.
So I wanted to discuss that with you real quickly.
So that's the part that I find like funny to an extent, is that I thought we were against cancel culture. Yeah, I'm against cancel culture. I'm not for advocating for any type of violence and encouraging any type of, shooting and stuff like that. You want to, just like if you want to encourage protests, that's fine. You start encouraging rioting, that's not okay. And if a company finds out about that, and furthermore, a company, they can fire you for things like that. Especially advocating for violence. Now, just voicing your opinion as far as you're Republican, you're Democrat, you're this, that, you don't like Trump, this, that, and the other. No, a company should not be able to fire there shouldn't be cancel on that. However, when you're advocating for the death or the violence of cities and people and stuff like that, no, that's a problem. Again, freedom of speech, but at the same point in time, you have repercussions to your freedom of speech. And sometimes that's getting canceled or whatever. Especially when it comes to the whole advocating for violence and everything. And I mean, legitimately advocating for violence. I mean, this tweet, why is it called a tweet still?
It wasn't actually. Her post was on Facebook.
Okay, yeah, that's right. This Facebook post, is basically advocating for another attempt, and everything. So it's like that's not okay. I'm against cancel culture for people voicing their opinions as far as like, hey, I don't like Trump, or hey, I don't like Kamala, this, that, and the other. Hey, we shouldn't have pornographic books in schools for kids to read. Sure, but when you start advocating, if you start saying, yeah, Trump should be killed, and just add on to that, hey, go out there and burn cities down, whatever, yeah, that stuff's not okay, and there's going to be repercussions. And I don't call it, there's a difference between saying, hey, you can't advocate for violence on your fellow man, right? Because like it or not, we are fellow man, even if you disagree. So there's a difference of that and then being canceled for, a belief or opinion. Right. So that's the way I see it.
I agree completely. To me, and see, it was twofold. Some people were more in the conservative camp saying, well, we're against cancel culture. Right. And some were liberals trying to get the right into an aha moment, like a we got you moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a big
freedom
difference.
Of speech, right?
Right. Okay. And there is freedom of speech, which is why you are, and that's what was funny. So you say that, and you're exactly right, because the left has been preaching a message. There was a big meme that went everywhere back in, this is probably 2021 or 2022. Yeah. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence. And then when it comes and bites them in the butt, in the sense of
freedom of consequence,
in the sense of one of their own advocating for violence against a presidential candidate that they don't like, then the switch flips and they're like, no, we don't like freedom, we don't like consequence.
Yeah,
we want to be free from consequence. And again, when I tell you that everyone's liberal mama and their brother was posting this meme, and I could post it up on our social media.
Yeah.
It went everywhere,
and
because what they were trying to say, for example. Because this is when it was biting the conservatives.
Yeah.
Was people on the radio, conservatives being fired, people that were on Fox being fired, what have you. They were trying, and Tucker getting fired by Fox.
Yeah.
They were trying to say, well, he was wrong for saying X, Y, and Z, therefore it was good that he got fired. Well, then this Home Depot cashier gets fired, and then they come to her aid, and they want freedom from consequence, when before they said they did not want freedom from consequence.
Yep.
So it's just another way that the left does not have logical consistency. And anyone that's actually trying to look at this objectively can see that. So that's basically my mindset. Now, I will say another takeaway that I had from this attempt on Trump's life, and this is, we can then talk about Trump's choice of VP and the RNC in general, because we didn't mention the RNC in the prep, but we should, is you can only call a man a fascist, racist, Nazi, sexist for so long before someone picks up a gun and tries to shoot him.
Yeah.
Part of this, the media did not load his gun. The media did not tell him, kill this man.
Yeah.
But they told him everything except that.
Oh, yeah.
They told him he's an evil threat to democracy. They told him and certain people have even told him he's a Nazi. Like Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks openly called Trump a fascist Nazi.
Well, and then
the logical conclusion from that, we've been taught at a very young age as Americans, well, what do you do with Nazis? You hit them. Captain America, etc.
Yep.
So then it's like, okay, well, when you use dangerous rhetoric like this, violent rhetoric like this, but then you say, well, they didn't tell him to kill him. All right, but you've called Trump this since 2015. What are people supposed to think? And what's funny is there was a lot of calls from the right to the left, tone down the rhetoric. Did any of them take a day off? No, of course not. They still are going to name call this guy. So that was the other thought that I had, was you can only call this guy all these names for so long before someone says, well, shoot, maybe someone should kill him.
Yep.
And they're partially responsible. I hold them partially responsible, not fully responsible.
Right.
That would be taking all the responsibility away from the shooter. Crooks is his last name. So no, he's the one that did it, right?
Oh yeah, no question.
But they're partially responsible. Yeah. They help motivate him.
Yeah, no question. I agree.
So if you had anything else about that, please do.
No, I mean,
talk about JD.
The only thing I'll add to that is, they definitely advocated for violence, and again, that they didn't tell people to do these things. They didn't, they didn't, I guess, partake in it or whatever. But they at least got the minds going. When you've got, I believe it was Scarlett Johansson who had made a speech about I have often thought about blowing up the White House, and now, granted, she walked that back and said, I'm not blowing it up on social media. Yeah, okay. Anyway, whatever. Then you had, I can't remember.
I'm sure, by the way, that if John Voight or someone else that leans conservative had said that
Exactly.
while Obama was president, everyone would have
Well, it
reacted.
would have been racist, for
Right.
one. Trump's a white guy.
In
so
other
he can
words,
take
it wouldn't have been the same.
Exactly.
She's treated with kid gloves, but if anyone that leans right, Dennis Quaid or John Voight, had said that while Obama was president, everyone would have been so angry.
Right, exactly. And I mean, you had Snoop Dogg, who had a music video where he was shooting an actor looking like Trump. You had I can't remember her name, a lady holding up a severed head.
Kathy Griffin.
Yeah, Kathy Griffin.
The funniest comedian ever.
Oh, she's hilarious. I know. She's generally not funny, but anyway, holding up, and it's not because she's female. She's just not funny.
There's a difference.
I've met funny females. She's not one of them. But no, I mean, holding up a severed head of Donald Trump is the list goes on and on. And again, like you said, if anybody on the right were to do that, oh man, we'd get canceled, potentially thrown in jail, investigated, swatted. Who knows?
Tim Pool has been swatted for way less.
Right.
Not even
and he's
close.
not even right.
No.
He's
centrist.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's
Bernie Sanders supporter.
Right, exactly. So I mean, he's not even a right. But I mean, that's the problem is like if you go against, I guess, the deep state essentially, or whatever you want to call it, and you do anything like that, you will be persecuted. I mean, which again, I don't think it's right to do it on either side, but hey, can we at least, I thought, Martin Luther King said that all men were created equal, so can we at least treat everybody equal with this stuff? That goes for, political parties and political views too, you know what I mean? So, last opinion.
So we'll change gears a little bit here and talk about the RNC. So I will say there was a couple of things that we didn't even mention, but we talked about one-on-one. The first thing that I did not like at all was Lara Trump got up and she had a decent speech.
Yeah.
But then she had to work in there. We'll have this country. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, gay or straight. It's like, oh boy, we have to hear about the gays again. And now we have to hear it in the Republican Party. Right. So, man, we're really trying to lock down that 1% gay vote, aren't we? So stupid. So that when I heard that, I was like, okay, well, this is co-chair of the Republican Party. That stinks.
Yep.
Because we're not supposed to be that party. That's the left. That's the Democrat Party.
Right,
we are not the party that preaches that.
Right.
Anyway, so that was one thought I had. The other thing that was way worse than that, and her name's impronounceable, so I'm not going to try. I tried at one point, and but I did read the post. So a woman got up. She prayed a Sikh prayer.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, so I thought we had talked about it. Maybe we actually hadn't, but she got up and prayed a Sikh prayer in her native tongue, then tweeted out the transcript translated on social media, on Twitter. And in the prayer, there were some parts of it that thought, okay, there's nothing. Okay, parts of it, I'd say 90%. There wasn't really anything that was out and out objectionable. Nothing was advocated for that sounded evil.
Yeah.
Except for the beginning, which said, "You are our father and our mother."
Yeah.
Okay, so what? You serve a transgender god or a non-gender god? So that's weird on its own. Secondly, again, why are we having a Sikh pray at the RNC?
Yeah.
I thought this was supposed to be the Christian Values Party.
Right.
And the thing is, people will say, well, we have freedom of religion, and I'll say, yeah.
But this isn't that debate.
Well, that's true, too. But the other thing is, this historically has been a Christian country.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
When you look at the founding...
Founded on Judeo-Christian values.
From the very beginning, the Mayflower Compact was a Christian document.
Yep.
And so why are we having a Sikh get up and pray? Number one, not in English. Yeah. Number two, to a foreign god. And this is DEI conservatism. This is trying to show how tolerant and with it we are.
Yeah.
And I'm not for our Republican Party being that way. I want a party that is kind and loving.
Yeah.
But why are we trying to pray to foreign gods at a political event?
Well, and then they had the black lesbian adult, what do they call them, adult stars, or you know what I mean. But anyway, she gave a speech. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is stuff that we're supposed to be against. I mean, the left shouldn't even have that on. Like, who cares about the opinion of a black lesbian adult star? Like, great. That does so much for our party, you know. Like what? I thought we were decent, you know.
Brilliant. Here's the brilliant strategy you're not seeing. They're trying to lock down the votes of the people she's been in films with.
Yeah,
all 2 of them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just I don't know, man. Like it. No, I mean it. It does. It's just this. Oh, we need to be more inclusive, and it's like, you know.
Do we want to be inclusive of pornography?
No. I'm talking then.
I know.
No, but 100%, like you said, yeah. Do we want to be inclusive of pornography? No. You know, and then the LGBT squad. You know, look. I can take it or leave it. If we can get the good, quote unquote, good ones. You know, as far as when I say good ones, the ones that aren't there to, you know, transition kids, this, that, and the other. The just, hey, I like dudes or whatever. Just originally what it started out with Obama, quote unquote, I guess is what I'm talking about. Like, sure, I can accept those guys on just a political level. I'm not talking, you know, religious level here. But yeah, so if we wanted to move to that, sure, I guess. And the prayer thing, that was absolutely insane. That one, you know, yeah, freedom of religion, 100%, no question. But you don't have to have that. Who was calling for that is my question. Like, what vote are you attracting there? Nothing. You know, so that like that was just kind of stupid. I'm not bashing the person for having their own religion, whatever. It was wrong.
Right.
You know,
I blame the RNC, which goes back to Lara Trump was supposed to be way better.
Yeah.
I don't think she is. Michael Whatley was the chair of the Republican Party of North Carolina, which that was a dead giveaway right away. Okay, North Carolina is not the most conservative state.
Yeah.
Any head of a RNC is not going to be that good. You know, that's the issue because the delegates that put the RNC chair there really all need to be replaced.
Yeah, no
so
question.
Whoever they got in there was not going to be good. But it's very clear to me that Lara Trump is not pushing the party in a good direction. It's staying the same. And look, there's times they stand on principle and it's okay. There's times they do not. And these principles of trying to get votes by advocating for another religion in a foreign language is not my values.
Yeah.
Now, if there's someone out there that, you know, people that want tolerance and diversity, there's a party for that. It's the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
But as far as standing for what's right, that shouldn't be the Republican Party.
Right.
You know, that's that kind of value of what I just said.
And we don't play the identity politics anyway. I mean, come on, man. Identity. First off, I don't think identity politics is like the primary factor for a lot of voters. I know, you know, you and I have talked about.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, man.
On the left,
yeah, but those are like, I'm talking people that are like in the middle, the undecided. The undecided voter are the ones that are like, I don't care that, you know, black, white, gay, straight, whatever. That's not what I'm concerned about. I think the single issue vote for most people, for most undecided voters, is the economy. You know, so like those are the things that if you really want to sway people, hey, start focusing on the economy, the issues in the economy, this, that, and the other. You know, get people on how you came up, JD Vance, how you came up from a crappy situation. These people that are saying he didn't struggle, it's crazy. But you know, get people like JD Vance to talk about, hey, I came from a crap situation and this is what I made of it because of America. You know, get people like that because I think that gets more of the undecideds than the DEI and everything else. I mean, yes, identity is important to an extent, but it's not as important as the left makes it. You know, I don't care that the race of a person. I don't. Yeah, I'm not racist, so I don't look at color. Like I look at, are you qualified? Do I agree with your policies? That's that and the other. So if I ran the RNC, I would just completely reject some of that unless I thought it advanced something specifically needed. You know, but it doesn't. That's the thing. So this inclusivity of things like that for the identity politics, again, you're not going to out left the left. So
exactly.
Stop trying to play it.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Play to your strengths, not try and play into your opponent.
So we probably are going to have to talk about JD quickly because we got a lot more to cover. We're halfway into part one. Wanted to ask you what you think about Trump choosing JD Vance.
Me personally, I mean,
did you see it coming?
Yeah, I mean, as far as until people started talking about it, no. I was thinking, as far as good picks, good picks or B picks, I was thinking Rubio. But the problem with Rubio is apparently there's something in the Constitution or whatever that the VP and the president can't be from the same state. So one of them would have had to move. So I guess that would have caused a conflict there. So I was thinking Rubio. And I was thinking potentially Vivek, which in my opinion, I would have loved to see Vivek just for the VP side of things. I wouldn't mind it because of the fact of he's a great talker. Great. He's got the vibe of 2016 Trump. Just in my opinion, he does it almost a little better. I mean, the way he kind of destroyed just the Republican debate stage, earlier this year, it destroyed Nikki Haley, asking her to, name 3 provinces in Ukraine, and it took her forever to even answer that.
Well,
stuff
she
like
didn't.
that. Now, granted, I understand people's concerns about him of we don't know who he is. He's coming out of nowhere, this, that, and the other. I mean, but to be fair, Trump came out of nowhere. Granted, we knew who Trump was, but we don't, as Republicans, we didn't know his stance because he used to be Democrat.
Right.
So the argument there of well, I don't know.
Even when he was a registered Democrat, though, he never really talked politics all that much. It was more business.
Right.
So,
and the reason I also would have liked Vivek too is because this would be the one time, I know I just said no identity politics. This is the one time where the identity politics kind of would have played in your favor too, because he's a smart Indian guy that can debate and everything else, and he could play that to his advantage when the left tries to play some identity politics. He can play it right back because he's not white. I mean, he's from a family of immigrants, this, that, and the other. So yeah, I would have liked him. JD's fine. Also a good talker, good debater, and everything. Also has a pretty good 2016 Trump mentality and everything. So yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. But yeah, did I see it coming? Not until the media really started, talking about it.
Well, so that was interesting to me. The interesting thing was, and some of it was people on YouTube. So people may not be aware, but on YouTube, people can actually post like on Facebook or Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Not just videos, but posts with words and images. Fox News, it was post after post after post. Who do you want to be Trump's VP?
Yeah.
And there was usually 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
And the main ones that I saw were Doug Burgum.
Yeah.
So he
would have been
Brezhnev with the big eyebrows.
Yep.
He ran against Trump in 2024, so this election cycle.
He wouldn't have been bad.
Okay, we can talk about him some other time. On abortion, he was to the left of almost everyone on stage. Maybe Haley had him beat. But, so I was not a big fan of him in that way. The other thing was, okay, what does he bring? To me, there was this is another Pence. This is another Chris Christie, in my view.
Right.
There was nothing that he brought. You talking about the fire Vivek had. I didn't see any of that in Burgum.
No. Yeah, I agree with that.
So as far as Burgum, I thought no, that's a non-starter. Rubio to me is a non-starter because if you want to see who Rubio really was, you need to go back and watch 2016. Mm-hmm. And also, you can look at his record. There was Gang of 8 amnesty bills he voted for, which, funny thing, Cruz attacked him for. Yeah. And people tried to sweep it under the rug and act like it was no big deal. So Rubio, to me, is another one of what have you done? Like, in all your career, what have you done for our party? Right. And also, I get the vibe, the feeling that this guy is going to be pushed around by the deep state of if they want war, you're going to give them war. So there's him, as I said, Burgum and Rubio. Vance was in some of the lists too, and then I kept seeing Tim Scott or Ben Carson. They would replace the 2 of them. They would enter.
That's who I thought. I thought it was potentially going to be Tim Scott.
I wondered if it would be him or Carson. I wasn't sure, but I was actually hoping for JD, and here's why. So JD has been on the Tucker Carlson show, which say what you will about Tucker. Yeah, Tucker is a media figure and an influencer on the right who's got a big following.
Right.
So by being there, by being willing to not only go on Fox, not just Newsmax, but also on Tucker's online show, he was showing that he understands the internet and internet conservatism. So when I saw that, I said, okay, that's a good move. The other thing that I really liked him on was some of the times he went on Tucker's show was talking about the war in Ukraine and saying these spending bills, sending billions of dollars to Ukraine are ridiculous and we need to stop it, which is not the safe position. The safe position is the Lindsey Graham position of we need to send another 20 billion. I don't care how many billions we need to send. And you hear this from Chris Christie and Nikki Haley on the Republican debate stage as well.
Let's keep ticking off other countries. Right.
Let's just get into more wars.
Yeah.
And so, and not only more wars, let's send more money out of the country and spend less money right here, which is completely backwards. Well, it makes money for the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So that's the thing. And JD not like that. JD is different than that. And I appreciate that because my hope is that he will then be in Trump's ear. And as Trump makes calls as president, JD will say, I don't think that's wise. So that's just one section. The other section that I really like, and you alluded to this, which is cool, is I really like someone with a success story of being dirt poor, being broke, and working their tail off and succeeding, thriving. And for everyone who said he didn't struggle, it's like, okay, so not only he wasn't raised by a single mom, he was raised by a dirt poor grandma. Had hardly anything.
While his mother was a drug addict.
Right. And he told that story. And you don't have to read his book.
He's thankfully sober now.
Right. And you don't have to read his book to know this. All it takes is basic listening to the guy. He spoke about this at the RNC. So there's no excuse for the level of ignorance for people that are saying that. Just listen to him speak at the RNC and say, oh, wow, turns out this guy actually had kind of a rough time. And despite that, worked his tail off, joined the Marines, had this amazing career in the tech industry, so on and so forth. So I love that because I think for our country, that's what the Republican Party can do is say, okay, if you're a victim of the patriarchy, if you're a victim of the white man, that party over there is for you. If you want to get in there and work your butt off and succeed, come over here. That's a winning message. We're winners here. They are the losers. If you want to have a group of people that say, oh, we're losers and we want the government to hand it out to us, there's your movement over there. The patriarchy, the evil white man, etc., imperialism. There's your party
here,
right there. But if you're a victor, not a victim, come to this party. And a good spokesperson for that is a wealthy billionaire who made an amazing company, and a guy that worked his tail off and succeeded and thrived. And then the other thing about Vance that I really like is being from Ohio, and he said this in his acceptance speech to be Trump's VP. He appealed directly, and so did Trump in his announcement that he chose Vance. Appeal to those voters in Minnesota, Wisconsin, the states he has to win, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, saying, I'm choosing one of them. But he basically said, JD will represent these states. And by doing that, that's what we need more of. We need to go after, because this is what Trump did in 2016. He went after the trade jobs. He went after and said, you guys who have been left behind by the jobs going to China, going to Mexico, come over to me, vote for me. I will get your jobs back. If you want to work manufacturing, we're going to have made in America product here. 2 words, made in America, to quote Joe Biden. If you want stuff made in America, then vote for me. And that's what Vance and Trump are doing. Brilliant strategy. He's got to have those people, those old union guys. They can say, you know what? Even though the unions are cozied up to by the Democrats, this guy is actually going to bring our jobs back. Let's vote for him instead. I love that strategy. I think that's exactly what needs to be done. So I really think that Vance has the brain and he has the background to do this. And I'm really looking forward to him debating Tim Walz.
And he's young.
He's also he's like 40 years old or 41.
Right, which, I mean, for politicians
also,
is young.
Well, yeah, he's barely over the legal age to be VP because you have to be 35 or older to be president.
Exactly.
So that's great. You know, we've seen this trend of older and older. It's kind of nice.
White dudes. Well, now you at least got a young white dude.
Nice to see it come back a little bit.
Right.
You know? And it's funny because who did Kamala Harris choose? An old white dude.
Right.
And again, it doesn't necessarily matter as long as the guy's in control of faculties.
Yeah.
Right. But if we're to take the left at their word,
right.
You know, so many of them say, I'm tired of old white men wanting to have an opinion on women's bodies. It's like, okay, well, who did Kamala just choose?
Yeah.
Like, none of this follows.
Which I kind of agreed with, like, the first part of their statements is not the white part, but like old guys. Like, I was kind of tired of, like, just constantly like, hey, there's young people out there that are more in tune with, like, what's going on.
The ultimate dumb move to replace Biden would have been, we're going to have Jimmy Carter back in.
Yeah. I mean,
so like the guy's barely alive.
Yeah. I mean, so
I will say, a nice old man. From what I can tell, a very nice old man, but almost like 100 years old. There's no way we're going with that.
Yeah.
The country would not do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the idea of a younger guy, just because, again, I feel if you get younger people in there, it just puts you more in tune with the younger people.
The younger generation. I mean, the Zoomers who are now going to be able to vote, and the millennials who are voting.
Exactly. So I think that's a good move as far as that goes. So, yeah.
Very good point. Okay, so now we got to talk about some big stuff, where we're probably going to have to bring some of this into part 2, which is fine. What do you think, quickly? Well, first of all, massive credit to you, because you kept saying Biden's not going to be the nominee. Biden's not going to be the nominee. And turns out, guess what? Nathan of Zoo Nation was right. Because I actually thought, well, they've locked him in for so long. They've had him do one debate against Trump.
And he failed.
I think they're going with Biden. I really think they're going with Biden. Well, then, in the course of time, he dropped out.
Yeah.
There was a statement that was printed out. His signature was applied to it saying, thank you very much, but I'm not going to continue in this race. I'm stepping out. So credit to you. Any other thoughts about that? Who do you think forced him out? What do you think? What kind of discussions do you think there were behind closed doors?
Oh, the deep state definitely. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily Kamala's, whatever, however you say her name. Apparently it's racist to mispronounce it. So whatever, Kamala, whatever, cackler over there. I don't think it was necessarily her group that forced her out. I think it was more so just the Democrats as a whole were like, yo, this is terrible. We got to do something, but we can't get rid of her. So what do we do? Well, we'll get rid of him, and I guess we somehow figure out to wipe everything out for Kamala. So, oh yeah, she would. Let's not talk about the fact that the Democrats just months ago were talking about, hey, we don't like her any more than we like Joe Biden. In fact, she might be worse. Let's not talk about the fact in 2020 that she was the most liberal, voted the most liberal by her peers, not just what, as she says, oh, that was something Pence said in the debate. No, that was also by your peers. You are the most liberal.
She was praised by them for it.
Which that's comparing. Yeah, amongst your peers, I would assume include Bernie Sanders and stuff like that. I know it includes Elizabeth Warren and everything. I mean, that's crazy. So they couldn't get rid of her. But I just think it was one of those decisions made by the Democrats of like, look, can't let Orange Man win. But we have no way of kicking her out as of yet. What do we do? Right. And so I think that they conjured up a deal, especially with like Hunter Biden, and said, look, if you drop out, we'll find a way to keep you and Hunter Biden safe as far as from any prosecution or anything of the sort. Right. So I think that was probably some of the stuff that was probably said.
That's very likely. I really was thinking this kind of goes to the next topic, because Kamala Harris is now officially the Democrat nominee. She's gotten the delegates
elected.
And so she was not elected by the people, but she was chosen by the delegates. And so she has chosen Governor Tim Walz. Now, before I go into that, I wanted to say that my dad actually had a very interesting comment. He said, the Democrats are not going to do this, but if they wanted to win, what they should do is have her and then choose someone really moderate, like a Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
Because then you would have the argument of, well, extremists, here's how you can be happy.
Yeah.
And then moderates, here's how you can be happy.
Yeah.
Well, they ended up not doing that. And my dad said they wouldn't do it, but if they wanted to actually have a chance at winning, that would be a really interesting strategy.
Yeah.
And I had the thought, I've said this on my other podcast, that the other way of going about it is having her choose someone as extreme or more than her, and then have the narrative be, well, ignore all this stuff that Kamala has said and done. She's actually pretty moderate. So then the moderates will go for her because they're brainwashed, and then the extremists will go for the VP choice. And that's more of the direction they're going. Like you just said, she's trying to say, well, that's something that Pence said. I'm not that far extreme.
Yeah.
And Tim Walz is also, though, trying to say, well, I'm not very extreme. All these things that I've signed about putting tampons in boys' restrooms, that's not really a big deal.
Those are for their girlfriends. Man, that's so stupid.
Yeah, there's really not an argument about this kind of stuff. They're trying to whitewash this, and it's not really working. But that being said, so I don't think it's working. But to now go into the polling, I've seen some polls, and so have you, that the polling is very close right now.
Yeah.
And it's actually looking like, at first, it really looked like Trump had a big advantage, but that was while Biden was still the nominee.
Right, and he had just gotten shot.
And Trump had just gotten shot, and Biden had just gotten squashed in the debate.
Right, exactly.
So everything looked like Trump was going to stomp Biden.
Everybody finally saw what we have been saying for quite a while on live television.
And they've been turning a blind eye to it, turning a deaf ear to it, and then there's something like, well, shoot, turns out this guy has a problem.
You think they knew it, or they really didn't know it?
I think it's case by case.
Case by case.
I think that some people, when they sit and watch CNN every day, or MSNBC, or Instagram, or Twitter, they don't see the gaffes because they don't play the gaffes.
Well, because they get edited.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, but if you watch the uncut stuff, which some of them do, and they ignore it anyway, some of it is some of it's willful.
Yeah.
Some of it's definitely willful, but I do think for some of them, they didn't see it until the debate with Trump, and they realized, okay, this is really bad.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest group of people that said this is really bad were young people.
Yeah.
Some of the old people probably try to give an excuse. Your liberal aunt who has a Xanax prescription and drinks a bottle of wine and watches Stephen Colbert, she probably didn't like it, but she probably was thinking, well, we still need to go.
Stutter.
Well, yeah, exactly. That was the message. But the younger people said, well, wait a second. This is really bad. Like, why would I vote for that guy? That guy's not with it at all. And
that wasn't a stutter. He just combined 5 different sentences and it didn't make sense.
Right. And the thing is, when you have Trump saying, I don't know what he said at the end of that, and I don't think he does either, Trump called it out. Yeah. And so that's hard to ignore. And so, and it just got worse and worse. I mean, at one point he was approached by the media and said, you just referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. What do you say to that? And he said, listen to him.
Yes.
And then walked off. So when you have that, people really started to see this is not good. And so with that being said, the polling is close. And I really think that the reason the polling is close is because the left is beating the identity politics drum as hard as they can.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's an aspect of that. The other thing they're trying to do is, again, rely on the old attacks, which are Trump is racist, Trump is sexist, Trump is bigoted. And they're trying to rely on that. Now, I actually think it's more in Trump's favor than the polls would have you say. I think that a lot of the polls are doctored. I do.
Oh, yeah.
And there's people that don't believe that. They say, well, you got to look at the polling data. It's like, okay, so what did the polls say in 2016 that said that Hillary had a 98.4% chance of beating Trump?
Now, did you believe the polls a couple weeks ago before Kamala?
So there's all kinds of ways you can view that. So I really think that a lot of the polls are fake. I do think some of them are going to be accurate.
No, I agree.
I'm not saying that Trump's going to win in a landslide. I do think it'll be close. So then the question becomes, and this is kind of what you're saying, is that I think that Trump really needs to hit the economy hard and say we really need to improve the economy. He's hitting immigration, which is really good too. A lot of people have big concerns. Even moderates are like, okay, this is a little extreme. We're just letting everybody in here. We need to have some more sensible regulation on the border. So, real quick regarding Trump, because I really think that the polls that are going to be the most accurate in this whole discussion are going to be right after the debates between Trump and Harris, and right after the debates with Walz and Vance.
Right.
So I wanted to discuss this in the remainder of part 1. How do you think the debates play out between Trump and Harris?
If Trump plays it like he played the Biden debates, I think Trump can win. Because the quiet waiting for muting that guy's mic works so well, in all honesty. Because nobody liked. I mean, Republicans might have and stuff like that. There are people that liked it, and stuff like, oh yeah, this is the 2016. It's like yes and no, it's 2016. Like I think if they mute his mic and this, that, and the other, and he plays it cool, doesn't get into those name calling things, like the one time he did with Biden about the golf thing, that was pretty funny. But at least that was the only issue as far as that went. As long as he doesn't play into, because that's probably how the Harris campaign is going to come by it, is like just get him riled up, start name calling, call him weird, put him on the defense. Trump plays great offense. Trump does not play as well on defense, so you start calling him weird. Well, I'm not weird because I'm weird because I don't want to trans kids, this, that, and that. Don't even play into the game, just sit there and, okay, I'm weird. I don't know what that means. Tim Pool says this. I'm weird. I don't know what that means, but I know that you guys are struggling to buy groceries. I want to fix that. Here's how. Stuff like that. Just ignore that stuff. Don't go, well, you cackle too much. What which is weird. 100%. Don't play the game of, well, you want to trans the kids. You want to do this, that, and the other. I make that for sure, but don't go, well, you're weird.
There is a time and a place for that.
Right, exactly. That's my point. Don't go, no, you're weird, cuz. No, you're weird. No, you're weird. No, don't do that.
I think you're right. I think that the proper response would be to kind of shrug and say, not sure what you're saying there. Maybe in your next answer you can describe what that means.
Exactly.
But what I want to talk about is an issues-based debate.
Right.
And I want to look out to you, the American people. How many of you are better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Right.
What is affordable? What has gone up? And one thing that would really put Trump in touch with the generation would be to cite. There was a TikToker, which, wow, something good came out of TikTok. Stop the presses. Of a guy that did an order, I think it was in 2018, and then it did an order in 2024. Same groceries, everything. It was up another like $200 or something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If he had called that, if Trump would call that guy out by name and that account, and heck, if he were to give a speech and show that video, that would get so much attention with moderates that are like, shoot, wow, because remember, Trump was president in 2018. That would be a brilliant strategy. The other thing, this is a brilliant strategy, is the no tax on tips movement. Yeah, because that gets the average. Well, what do you mean?
No tax on tips sucks.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, because I think the average cashier or waiter is going to look at that and say, "Huh, this guy's saying we're not going to pay tax on tips. Let's do it. I'm all in. On that one issue alone. I'm all in.
Oh yeah.
I don't have to report it to the IRS and that. I can just take the money. Right. I really think that's a brilliant move. This is again where I like Vance and Trump on the trade. They're appealing to the working man. And I really think that would be another strategy where they can go around. The other thing I think Trump should say, and Tucker Carlson puts it very eloquently, is say the Democrats are the party of the elites. Yeah. The Hollywood groups, the big unions that take all the money and give nothing to their workers, and to big pharma, and to big business. Yep. Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, stuff like that. Yep. We want to help you. We see you struggling. You're not forgotten. And he hit this hard in 2016. He said, you will not be forgotten anymore. Yeah. He needs to bring some of that back. Yep. And if he does that, I think he wins in a landslide. Yep. Because people will be relieved of, okay, well, this guy actually might help get government off our back, and we can then succeed. Because that's one thing that Reagan would talk about is, get out of my wallet, get out of my pocket, let me work. And I think and Trump hit that in 2016.
Because that's what people want, is just to be left alone, earn a living, and, even undecideds and moderates and stuff. That's all they want. Leave me alone. Let me work. I don't want you involved in my life that much. And let me get money and lower my cost for things, and I'm good. I do honestly think the economy is one of the biggest single issues for majority of voters.
Right. Well, we're going to end part one here because we're getting a little bit low on time. And so we're going to have part two coming right up. We're going to be talking a little bit more about MAGA and then some other things about conservatism. So we will catch you in part two. Definitely make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. Make sure you ring the bell as well. We need you guys to turn on your notifications so that you can hear and see whenever we upload. So we will catch you at part two, guys.